it's not on that. Okay, great. Oh, this is for YouTube. We tell our, yeah. Welcome everybody to Senate Democratic Caucus. It is 2nd of May. Wow, hard to believe, but all the beautiful trees outside tell us it must be the 2nd of May. Today we don't have the pro tem yet to do any updates with the House and what's happening. Our hope is still on track to adjourn next Friday, and yeah, and Big Mass is ready to have us start on that right away. What we're going to do today, there are snacks in the back, and I encourage everybody to partake. What we're going to do today is really hear from chairs about what's still in play, what's in the House, when are we expecting it, and updating us on the final things that are getting through their committees, and what are some of the challenges we're facing, and what can we expect in the next 2 weeks. So I think we will start with we have A and T here. So I think we'll start with Senator Mazza, all the way to you. We are going to start with transportation at the end of the alphabet.
Wow, that's important. Wow.
Oh,
I got to come forward.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Okay. Yep.
This means that that Keisha can hear you.
Okay. Hi, Keisha. How are you? No, transportation bills, we passed it this morning. We're finished with that bill. We have the miscellaneous DMV bill, which the House is going to release today, I believe. And so we'll have that back to us, and we'll act on that immediately. I hope tomorrow morning we'll act on that. So, and we'll wrap up both those bills this week. Thank you. That's it. Catalytic converter, yeah, we had that amendment from the House this morning. We took it up. It's very involved. It may go to different committees. It's no longer a transportation issue. So we'll discuss that more tomorrow. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Allison. Hi, Keisha. Our bills are all in play. We've got one, I believe, in finance that should be coming out of there today, hopefully. And that would be our last bill on the Senate side. And that's an H bill, so that'll go back. I met with the chair of Ag on the other side. All our bills seem to be in play. I haven't talked with Jane yet, but I believe that the House is very supportive of what we did in regards to the organic dairy farmers help, and also the conventional dairymen's help on their insurance premiums. So I think, I haven't seen any smoke. So if there's no smoke, hopefully there's no fire. And so things are going, I guess, okay. Yeah. 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 Well, as the budget as the bill came over to us from the original appropriations bill, it did not have a penny in it for the organic guys. So we and the props had to find $6.9 million to cover that bill. During the discussion, everybody in ag, the different pieces, everyone in those different other categories took a haircut to some point, but we did leave it with the understanding that if the House would come along on the 6.9, because they had no money, that we might agree to put more money into the small farms program. So, there's a lot of moving pieces at the end, and I hope that it works out okay for everybody. Yeah.
Any other questions? I think. What? Oh, we're not using that microphone as well? Oh, yikes. Okay, very frustrating. Okay, S100, Bobby, the universal meals. Where are we at with that at this point? Oh, that H100. Sorry, not S100. S100's housing. Housing. And so H100 is universal meals. Oh my God.
Well, I hope we're in a good place with it. It's in approach, and I think that later this week, if things work out well, it'll get voted out. So we'll be dealing with it next week. We've got quite a workload in approach, and I think we're in good shape with it. There's just some issues that we need to work out on, some other issues that will, I think, materialize.
The ban of white.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks all. There are a number of health and welfare bills that are currently in play. One that you'll see on the floor very soon is a bill relating to a unused prescription drug program, which will allow for institutions, facilities, like hospitals and long-term care facilities to send their unused drugs to a central location, and then we can also then re-access those prescription drugs at a lower cost, hopefully, for patients in the state of Vermont. That's a really good program. There's a great program in Iowa and also in Georgia, so you'll be hearing about that. We have a number of compact bills that are now in appropriations, and they will be enhancing workforce opportunities, both for folks in state and for folks out of state, whether it's psychological counseling or mental health counseling, psychology, audiology, and others. So those bills will be coming to the floor soon. We have a bill on the suicide prevention protocol for kids and linking some of that protocol through the Department of Health with our after school program, and then with eating disorders. That's a really a bill that really dives into some of the issues that we will have to look at going forward. We have a bill on adult protective services, which is a rewrite of the Adult Protective Services statute that hasn't been changed in many, many years. So that is a long involved bill that is now in finance. I think it may have gone to finance, but it will be popping out hopefully pretty soon. And then finally, we have a bill, among others, the Department of Vermont Health Access, the Medicaid housekeeping bill, but there's some important not studies, but reporting back to the legislature on our healthcare reform initiatives that were in Act 167 last year. So some pilot programs with 4 of our hospitals in the state, and also a section on the blueprint for health, which we know is so critically important for community health teams and primary care. So those are a few of the bills. The House still is looking at the forensic facility bill and making some proposals there. The House also has some other bills that we sent over and haven't yet returned to us. So we'll be looking, in particular, the chemical bill, that the toxic chemical bill is so important. And also S18, the flavored tobacco bill. The House Human Services is hearing testimony from Senator Gulick tomorrow, who's a reporter of the bill, and they will be taking testimony tomorrow. They will also be taking testimony on the toxic chemical bill tomorrow. But it would be, and there was a very good opinion piece written by Emerson Lind in St. Albans Messenger, thank you, on the S18 vaping bill, flavored bill. Someone, I think it was yesterday or today, I don't know when it came out. There it is. Okay, so that's just a bit of the work we're doing, and we should be, hopefully we'll be getting all of that passed, voted on, signed.
Any questions for Judy? Okay, then we have 2 chairs in the back, Chris and
Okay, so we have put out 12 bills so far. We've cleared out our major bills as well as 5 other House bills. We have 5 bills of interest to the committee that are still in the House. They haven't moved yet, so I'm hoping that we'll see more of those bills moving soon. But in terms of the updates on things of interest broadly, S100, the housing bill, that economic development and natural resources, they House Energy and Environment voted that bill out Monday. They were in working Monday. They voted it out. It's off to Ways and Means and then to Appropriations and the floor. So I've just requested a side-by-side, so we'll start to get ready for having it land back over here. S5, the other major bill that was traveling along, it's now day 1, 2, 3 with the governor. We'll know by Thursday what his thoughts are. And that's it for now. You know, five that we're waiting on, and bills out. Yes.
We've gotten all of our H bills out, but I just wanted to let you folks know that the governor has signed the end of life bill, residency requirement bill. Very good.
So that's it.
Great. Is this on? It is. What's that? Can you hear me?
I would just say only the person
Thank
holding
you.
the microphone can be heard. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Okay. Thanks. So we too are slowing down. We universal school meals. I know you talked a little bit about that with Senator Starr. That ended up in our committee. That's completely fine. Really, Bobby gets the credit for it. It's in Senator Probst. Looks like it's going to be voted out possibly tomorrow, Wednesday. 486 and 124, that's an S and an H bill, are both school construction bills. And thanks to Jane, we put those right in the budget with all of the language, just about all of the language in both of them. For those interested, we are hearing today from Mike O'Grady to continue a little bit of the conversation around PCBs. That being said, I brought the testimony we've heard from the outline of the testing protocols and what's happening, so everybody really understands what's happening on the ground. I brought copies of that, as well as copies of the testimony from Dr. Levine and Dr. Chen. So everybody, do you mind passing this up? That would be great. Yeah. And hopefully that answers a lot of questions people have. I also don't want to give people sort of false hope in this. I've talked to the pro tem and the other chairs that are involved with PCB related things, health and welfare, natural resources. I don't see our committee right now. We don't have the votes to move something forward. Just having taken a brief poll, got up to 3. So that's where things are at. But I hope this information is helpful to people, and we'll continue the conversation. School safety, that's a bill that is in the House as well as our miscellaneous education bill. And then we voted out the House miscellaneous education bill, which is in approps. So those are the major things that I wanted to mention. I know VPIRG is also getting involved in the conversation around PCBs, asking us not to pause. So people may be start to get emails on that. And I'm happy to, again, talk to you. So please, Senator White.
Could you talk a little bit more about the PCBs thing and how you would recommend that we respond to constituents on kind of what the timeline is? Because I'm hearing from a lot of folks on it.
Oh, you do? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Keisha. Yeah. So that I would email them that outline the Agency of Natural Resources gave you. It's actually, I think, parts 3 and 4. I'm not exactly sure, but they're the ones that actually talk about how they're testing, why they're testing certain areas, why they're prioritizing certain schools. Some of that has to do with free and reduced lunch numbers. That also has to do with when the buildings were constructed. And so what I'm happy to do is let me draft an email that you can then share with people. That would be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Happy to do that. Yeah, happy to. That is from Matt Chapman. Yep. And I'm sorry, he came in to testify on behalf of the agency.
I think that would be helpful because clearly some districts are getting more from our superintendents and principals than others, which is the way it is.
Thank you.
If with your letter, if you could include a link to, because your website has all these testimonies up, I assume posted. So Harry's testimony and Mark Levine's testimony, all of this is available for our constituents. Ow.
The House did this based, the House did not take any testimony whatsoever from any medical professionals at all. Now they're going back and taking a look at it. The other thing we learned on Friday was their bill actually isn't a pause. All they're actually doing is cutting the funding off. I'm sure that was unintentional, but if you read the bill according to some of our witnesses, attorneys, they said that really they're requiring the testing to continuing, but just stopping the funding. So we'll confirm that, but that's what we're. So I'm happy to put together an email.
Just to add to the simplicity of this issue. Oh, okay, sure. Amplify, just to add to the simplicity of this very simple issue. Allison Novak, who's been following the PCB journey for a while now, she put another good article in yesterday in 7 days that talks about what happened down in Twin Valley and how they had high levels of PCBs. They put an air filtration system in to mitigate the situation, and actually the numbers got worse. So just again, I'm just pointing out the complexity of this particular situation, but it's a good read. I recommend it.
Okay, we are missing a probes. Do we have anybody and any other institutions? We have Wendy here to do an institutions update because the capital bill has yet to hit.
The capital bill has been passed out of our committee. I believe it's in appropriations. What we spent the most amount of time on was funding for water projects, municipal water services. And then we spent a fair amount of time on selling of buildings. If anyone is in institutions and wants to chime in. And the how to handle the new fund that is called the cash fund, or sometimes the it's a reserve fund. And the point is to have money available so that you don't have to bond all parts of a project, but we don't really have a solid plan going forward for that. But the intention is to have that. So aside from the capital bill, we did pass out a art in this building bill, which I think is in appropriations. But I'll be reporting that once it gets out of, assuming it does get out of appropriations. And it provides additional funding. The funding hasn't been increased for years for art in, I'm sorry, not just this building, but all state buildings, and to yes, buy art or commission art for the buildings and other state projects. The most recent installation was a sculpture of a fish that's at a hatchery. So so it's and it's intended to support Vermont artists also, and it would increase the funding from $50,000 to $75,000. Yes. It specifically does not cover any portraits or any certain categories of art that are in this building. That was a big mistake on my part, because the art in this building is paid for by the Friends of the Capitol or Friends of the State House. Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that portrait of McDonald. So Senator Ram Hinsdale, would you like to give us an update on Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs?
Yes, and we're trying out our wearable attire for the first time. So there's Mira saying hello. Hopefully I'll be able to use that to come to the State House as well again before the session ends, but I do appreciate having the extension of being able to do some remote and hopefully come back in person for a little bit as well. So as folks hopefully recall, generally we have 3 buckets of work in Senate Economic Development: housing, labor and workforce, and our vice portfolio, everyone's favorite. Senator Bray covered where S100 stands in the House. My understanding is to anticipate that early next week it will hit the floor over there, but both of our committees will look at the changes that were made hopefully this week and be prepared to work in unity to see where we land on either concurring with further proposal of amendment or something else. But it did get out of House Energy and Environment on an 11-0 vote, which I certainly wasn't anticipating. So I do think it really has momentum on the House side on its way to the floor. With labor and workforce, you're going to be seeing hopefully more and more of our agreement on some of these issues coming to the floor now. We've just had unanimous votes on firefighter workers' comp protections and on some other changes that benefit those who receive workers' comp and UI. And then we still are looking at S102 and 103 are bigger labor and workforce civil rights bills that are remain over in the House. And workforce development obviously went through the budget, but Senator Clarkson could say more if needed, that apprenticeship has kind of been, no one's had full time to do it because it's just dense. It's a priority of the governors. And I don't think there's any ill will toward that, getting more apprenticeship language and support into the mix, but nobody's had time to do it in the House or the Senate to do it justice. So we're going to try and finish that up. Most of the vice bills, I believe, are on their way to the floor because they started in the House and they're on their way to the floor on our side this coming week. That would include smaller changes, more cleanup and small changes for alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis. We're really grateful to agriculture and health and welfare for doing more of the work on cannabis that we could fold into the new market, and of sports betting, which we've talked a lot about, but I'm sure our committee is happy to continue answering questions about that bill as well. And that covers our work. And I hope to see you all very soon.
We hope to see you too. That sports wagering is on the floor tomorrow. So I see, where did Nodder go? Nodder just disappeared. I was going to have him do judiciary because we don't have Dick Sears. So our vice chair was going to do it. But Phil, do you want to give us an update on we're judiciary? You're here, but no one can hear you unless you're using.
We did take up today the stealthing bill from the House, which is when there's consent between two parties to have sex with a condom and one party removes or tampers with the condom. So we spent the morning on that bill. It doesn't create a criminal penalty, but it does allow for civil action. And it's supported by the network and crime victim services and other groups. Right. I believe Senator Sears passed over that this morning. He wanted to have additional conversation in the committee. Yeah. So it's hard for me to see how that one doesn't go forward, but there was additional testimony he wanted to take. So that's all I can give you right now. Oh, just one thing. H230 went out of our chamber today over to the House. I had a quick conversation with Representative Lalonde. He thinks they can probably concur on that. So it may be that our work on that bill is done at least until a potential override, if it is vetoed.
And for those listening, that's our suicide prevention bill. Any questions? Pro Tem, Phil, do we have anything else to update people on in terms of other?
One thing I want to just make sure everybody remembers, tomorrow is the last day of morning committees. So starting Thursday, morning committees are technically shut down. We move floor time to 10 a.m. in the morning. We run for a couple of hours. And then if need be, we come back in the afternoon and we begin having 2 sessions. That doesn't mean that morning committees can't meet before 10. Some you can, and some do. For instance, things come back from the House. You need to get together as a committee and decide how you feel about it and maybe create a new amendment. That can be done theoretically from 8:30 to 10 in the morning or at some other time, but we're going to be moving the floor time. So in some cases, your morning committee may cease work altogether. Some do that. In other cases, you might come in here and there. And then in some committees, they sort of never stop working. So you'll know it when you feel it. Yeah.
Senator Bray.
Yeah, just a quick heads up. Sometimes natural resource bills are of interest to everyone. So for sort of an early warning, heads up, and you might want to get in touch with the reporter. There are 4 bills that we should see on the floor. The bottle, I'll go sort of in reverse order. Bottle bill is currently in Senate Finance. It should be out. I'm not sure exactly. It's being taken up Wednesday. I don't know when it will hit the floor, end of this week, beginning of next. Senator White's the reporter on that one. Senator Watson's doing both the burn permit bill and household hazardous waste. And then we have one other bill on aquatic nuisances and water. So you may have heard about some of these things from constituents. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me or the reporter. Thanks.
Perfect. Mark, are you?
Senator Cummings has been trying to wrap up work in Senate Finance. One of the issues that I've been more interested in and has been school taxes and how Act 60 is working today as opposed to how it was working 20 years ago. Most senators don't know how the bill was structured to begin with. It was a grand bargain between the people who farm and forestry work, the commercial industrial side, and homeowners. And each of those three groups got a good deal out of Act 60. And today we're looking at how homeowners are faring, and we're finding that the number of homeowners who are eligible to pay their school taxes based on their incomes is on the decline. Each year, it's a few percentage fewer. And the chair has committed to taking a look at what we might do this year to see that it doesn't happen again next year. It would be, we're going to take some testimony and look at why a smaller percentage of homeowners this year pay based on income than did last year. So stay tuned, and maybe we'll have some discussion on Thursday on that.
And are based on income begins basically at $90,000 or less. You can pay on income. There's a slope, but it's primarily that was the new number that was put in many years ago now. Is it time for us to be revisiting that? Are Vermonters earning more? What do we think is triggering that?
Vermonters are earning more. Of course, it buys less than it used to, and it's an attempt to keep parity with how the bill was structured as things change. Current use is pretty solid. It's hard to erode the current use the way the law is written. And the same with commercial industrial properties, the elimination of the business personal property tax, it's gone. No one has said, well, if homeowners are paying more, maybe we should reinstitute some of the taxes that commercial industrial used to pay. But it hasn't come to that, but that'll be part of trying to balance those three groups to see that it's not just one of them is being left behind.
Right. Thank you. Any?
House values are up. I had a couple new towns to survey when I was campaigning last fall that I'd never been to. So I had the liberty to ask all sorts of questions that were more pushy than I would otherwise ask, like, what brought you to Bradford? How come you moved to Fairleigh? And spoke to the townspeople and some listers that folks were coming in and buying homes, sometimes on the internet, and finding out what they bought later. And price values are up, and their home values are going to be up throughout the state of Vermont as of the April 1st just passed. And that's going to have an effect on individuals, the price of the valuation of their homes and their taxes this fall. And some people may be shocked, and some people may say, so what? But we'll find out in September when the tax bills come out. We should have some options for next year. And I think the Chair of Finance is taking some testimony to see if we can demand or request more information and know what we might be able to do if next year it looks like we're in for another round. And even fewer homeowners would be eligible to pay based on income than this year.
Yeah.
Just relative to home prices and taxes, did you discuss the reappraisal proposals?
Those are established by statute. When things fall below a certain level, you have to reappraise, but if everybody has to reappraise in a single year, like home builders, there are not enough home builders to build the housing we need, and there are not enough reappraisers to reappraise what might be called for.
We have a bill in Senate Government Operations that is looking at doing reappraisal statewide on a schedule. And that is, we've voted it out last week, and I don't know if it's gone. I think it's gone to finance. So thank you, everybody. Unless there's another question, I think we're done, and we shall see you in committees this afternoon. Thank you all very much.